Hello, everyone, and welcome to our latest edition of BookTrib Live, a Mira Books media production. Today we are chatting with Harlequin's Men at Work author, Tiffany Reisz. Tiffany is also the internationally best-selling and award-winning original Sinners series author, along with a number of novellas and standalone novels, including The Bourbon Thief. And most recently, Tiffany's series Men at Work has just released its first two books, Her Halloween Treat and Her Naughty Holiday, which we are talking about now. Thank you so much for joining us, Tiffany. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's jump right into Her Halloween Treat. Tell us a little bit about the story and some of the characters that we're meeting.
Her Halloween Treat is the first in my Men at Work series that is set in Oregon on Mount Hood, where I used to live. Real place, real setting, set around Lost Lake in the top of the mountain, which has a lot of cabins and lakes and skiing, and it's just this incredibly beautiful romantic area that I hadn't really seen in too many romance novels, so especially contemporary. So I thought it would be fun to write where I was living at the time because it was so beautiful. So that was sort of the inspiration, and my husband and I were house hunting at the time, which meant we were looking at a lot of beautiful houses out there, and I just thought it was such a romantic setting that I decided to write some books set out there. And I thought some Harlequin blazes would be the best, especially since so many of the men who live out on Mount Hood are mountain men.
Absolutely.
You know, they hunt, they fish, they work with their hands, they build their own cabins. A lot of the women do too. There's a lot of BMWs out on the mountain. Those are a BMW is a burly mountain woman.
Oh. I was like, oh, they drive nice cars out there. Okay.
Yeah. Some of them do. Some of them have very nice, fancy second houses out there. They have their townhouse and then they have their mountain house. So that was the inspiration for the whole series. Okay. And for the book, Her Halloween Treat, I wanted to write a kind of a second chance romance. I remember very clearly having a guy in high school had a crush on me, and he didn't tell me until about 10 years after we graduated.
Oh, no.
And I'd adored him in high school. If he had just told me, then we might have dated. But he never got around to telling me. So that was always in the back of my mind, and I ended up using that in Her Halloween Treat. We have Chris, who was a slacker in high school, long-haired stoner type, had a crush on his best friend's younger sister, and after high school he cleans up, he cuts his hair short, he gets a good job, he learns how to be a contractor, and when Joey, the heroine, comes home for her brother's wedding, they meet again, and she doesn't even recognize Chris at first because he's so cleaned up.
Right.
And buff and tough, and the only thing he has in common with high school self is the music he listens to. He's addicted to, it's the Pacific Northwest, so of course he's addicted to Pearl Jam and Nirvana.
Yep.
All the music of the 90s. So they meet again, and it's kind of a meeting for the first time since he's changed so much. So it's a second chance romance, second chance for Chris to prove to Joey that he's a good guy, and Joey's nursing a broken heart. So this is a second chance at love for her.
Oh, I love that. All right. Sounds excellent. Well, right in the same realm. So that is the first book in the Men at Work series, right?
Right. Number one.
Number one. And Halloween themed, of course, which is so perfect for right now. What had you go to the next step, which is book 2, which is Her Naughty Holiday, which came out on October 18th. How did you kind of come up with that storyline? And if you can tell us a little bit about it, that would be great.
Sure. My husband and I are big autumn holiday people. We had Halloween decorations up since early September.
Oh boy.
So we love fall and all the fall holidays. So I thought it would be fun to do a series that hits them all.
Yeah.
So book 1, Her Halloween Treat is Halloween, and then we have Her Naughty Holiday, which is Thanksgiving, and then the third book, One Hot December, is Hanukkah and Christmas. So we get all of them, all the big ones. So with Her Naughty Holiday, my favorite historical romances to read are Marriage of Convenience, but that's very hard to pull off in a contemporary. But what you can contemporary is the fake relationship. I need a boyfriend or a girlfriend to take to because otherwise everybody's going to ask me about my personal life. So you see those types of books a lot. And very luckily, I have a great supportive family. But a lot of my friends have families who bug them a lot about their personal choices they've made in their life.
Right.
And it usually comes to a head at Thanksgiving.
Around the table.
The uncles who like to ask the really impertinent questions,
right.
like, when are you going to have a baby? When are you going to have a second baby? When are you going to have a third baby? There's never enough babies.
Of course.
So I thought I would write a book that addressed the dark side of Thanksgiving, which is putting it with a nosy, judgmental family. So we have the character Clover, and she runs a nursery, a very successful nursery, but this is not good enough for her family because she is 30 and single and a college dropout, and she works with her hands instead of being an academic like everybody else in the family.
Wow.
So she has an adorable and wacky 17-year-old assistant who just happens to have a very sexy single dad who's 38 and a contractor. And the assistant, Ruthie, puts Clover and Eric together, and they decide to have a fake relationship for the week to help Clover handle her family, to have a little backup. And of course, the fake relationship lasts about 5 minutes before they start falling in love with each other. Because they've been crushing on each other for over a year and haven't had the guts to really tell each other. They've been, he's got a 17-year-old daughter who needs a strong female presence in her life, so he doesn't want to mess that up by dating that strong female. So it was nice to let these two people who've been crushing on each other for a long time just let the sparks fly.
Absolutely, that's great. So, what about, is this the kind of series where we'll see kind of overlapping stories, like we'll see recurring characters, or is it just, it's the next story in the series? All
the characters know each other.
Okay.
But they don't appear. So, except there's a little bit of, one of the characters in her Halloween treat is on the phone at one point with one of the characters in her Naughty Holiday.
Okay.
So it's fun. It's just a little thing. So readers who read them all are like, oh, I know her. And you get a little bit of one thing. But I wanted them to all be standalones.
Okay.
So they can be by themselves or out of order or whatever. But I recommend them all. I think you should read them all.
Oh, definitely. You should read them all. Go get them all. So you like to call your genre literary fiction. What for you does that encompass? And are you ever thinking of going outside of that for any reason, regardless of the genre?
Well, what I called it was not literary fiction, but literary friction.
Friction. Makes much more sense. Here we go. Okay.
Yeah. So that's actually a joke from The Siren, which is the first book in the Original Sinner series. It's a joke my main character, Nora, Mistress Nora, who is a dominatrix and an erotica writer, makes. So I just stole that joke from her because I thought it was
great.
Fun. So she writes literary fiction, and I stole the joke. But the Men at Work series is just really steamy, dirty romantic comedies. And the Original Sinner series is erotica / erotic romance / erotic thriller / So calling it literary friction is just a joke, so I don't have to explain
all of that.
So I write a little bit of everything. So gothic romances, women's fiction, romantic comedies. If it involves people falling in love and having weird adventures,
you're on top of it. You're doing it. You're writing it. All right, that makes sense. What about a genre that maybe you haven't thought about? Is there anything out there that, excuse me, would maybe test your limits, or I don't know, say YA or anything like that?
I have an idea for a middle grade novel, like very young middle grade novel, because I have a niece and nephew who are 6, almost 7, and I would love to write something that they could read, within the next couple of years, not in 20 years from now. Right. It's going to be a while before they're old enough for my books. So that would be a big stretch, and I'd probably have to write that under a pen name. We wouldn't want kids going for the next Tiffany Reisz book and stumbling over, Mom's book collection.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah,
funny.
and I'd love to write a fantasy series. Fantasy is a
Ooh.
genre that I read a lot. I read a lot of mystery novels too, so that would be fun to write. I don't know if I'll ever get around to it. I have a huge list of to write on
Oh, I
my
love it.
board at my office, so I'll get around to them eventually. Hopefully, maybe.
How do you organize that list? Are you like, okay, next thought process is the next one I write, or are you, nah, I'd rather write this one than that one right now? How do you pick?
I write whatever they have paid me to write.
Ah, that makes a lot of sense.
And when that book is when the book that has been paid for and there's a contract in stone for
Right.
is and I have free time, then I write whatever is most nagging at me.
Gotcha.
So if I had a book in the back of my head that's like write me, then I'll jump on that in the couple of months I'll have between deadlines.
Gotcha. Wow. So you are a writing machine.
Yeah, I'll probably write by the end of this year. I think I will have written 5 novels and
Wow.
3 novellas, something like that. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I'd love to talk about some of your standalones because The Bourbon Thief was amazing. And we actually included it in an article on BookTrib. So for those who kind of missed the release in June, what can you tell them kind of about that storyline and that book and why they should go pick it up right now?
Well, The Bourbon Thief won the RT Book Reviews magazine Seal of Excellence Award. So it's got that going for it.
Yeah.
The best way I could describe it would be a Southern Gothic romance. So it has elements of Southern Gothic. And if you don't know what Gothic is, that means it's a mix of either romance and horror or romance and thriller. There's very dark content to it. Things that might be very spooky, maybe supernatural. You don't know. It's kind of left up to the reader to decide if there's something supernatural going on or if you have a character who's just, having a mental breakdown.
Right.
And it could be either, and it could be both.
Right. Or it could be none.
The reader. But it also has a strong central romance to it, and whether you think it's a happy ending or not probably depends on how open-minded you are.
Oh, okay.
Of true love.
a little.
It's got a couple dark twists. But my readers who read the original Sinners series are addicted to dark twists and mind games, so they really love that.
Definitely. Well, they will love this one. But also up next, you have The Night Mark, which is out the end of March, I believe. Is that correct?
End of March, yes.
What can you tease about that one? I know you can't tell us too much, probably, but what can you talk about?
The Night Mark is a time travel romance with a heroine who slips between the present day and 1921, one of the Sea Islands off South Carolina. She gets a job photographing lighthouses on the Carolina coast, and she gets caught by a sneaker wave and wakes up in 1921 in the bed of a sexy lighthouse keeper.
Okay.
Who just happens to look like her dead husband, who she's been mourning and grieving for 4 years.
Oh my goodness!
So, and it was inspired by a real story about a lighthouse keeper's sister, a woman named Florence Martis in Savannah, Georgia. The local legend about her is that she fell in love with a sailor, and they got engaged, and then the sailor shipped out on his boat. And she started greeting every ship that came into the port of Savannah, every single one, in the hopes that her fiancé was aboard. And she did this for years. She would wave a white flag by day and shine a lantern by night. And as far as we know, he never came back. But now she's this enduring symbol of Savannah's hospitality to visitors.
Oh my goodness.
A statue of her. She's known as the Waving Girl of Savannah, and a statue of her and her little dog next to her. So it's kind of a tragic story, but also a beautiful story.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to explore, that area, the romantic lighthouse setting.
Absolutely.
The missing lover. So I put some fun twists in that book. And I had just gotten married when I started writing it. So writing a young widow after just getting married, I cried so much writing that book. It was, giving that character a happy ending was like the most cathartic thing I've I broke her heart so much, so to give her so much joy was a joy for me.
Absolutely.
Just writing advice: don't write a widow when you're just got married.
Well, what's so interesting is that my next question was going to be, what is the best piece of advice that you could give maybe new writers or someone who is thinking about writing and they just haven't gotten there yet?
I would say, and this comes from my past. I played cello for 9 years, like 6th grade through college. So I would say approach learning how to write a book like you're learning how to play an instrument, because your writing voice is going to be your instrument. And just the way that you cannot pick up a violin and immediately start playing violin concertos,
Absolutely.
you have to understand that it can take years and years and years to go from, oh, I think I want to write a book, to writing and publishing and being a successful writer. I think a lot of writers are impatient. They think that because they can write a sentence, they went to school, they can read and they can write, that they can also write books immediately. They get frustrated with the process and they give up too soon.
Right.
And then miss out on these great books that they had fabulous ideas for, but they write 25 pages, realize how hard it is, and then they give it up.
Absolutely.
So be patient with yourself, be patient with your process, and go in knowing it can take a long time to learn how to do it.
Definitely.
Don't give up.
All right. Well, that's excellent advice. So unfortunately, we are wrapping up, but my final question for you, what is on your to-be-read list right now? Because I know you told me it's a long one.
It's a very, very long one. Let me grab it real quick.
Yeah. Oh my God, that'd be amazing. Absolutely.
I usually go back and forth between an older book and something that just came out.
Okay.
So the older book I want to read is Daddy Longlegs by Gene Webster.
Oh, how great.
This is a novel that came out, I think, in the 19-teens, something like that, but it was turned into my favorite Fred Astaire movie, also called Daddy Longlegs.
Got it.
About a rich man who sees a teenage orphan girl at a French orphanage, and he's so impressed with her taking care of the other kids at the orphanage that he offers a scholarship so she can go to an American college. But it's anonymous, and he goes to check on her at the college, pretending that he's just there to visit his niece, and they end up falling in love with each other.
Oh,
It's a movie, and I always wanted to read the book, so I have that.
okay.
And I am crazy about holiday romances, obviously. So also to be read is Holiday Temptations.
Ooh.
I'll hold it up, which is a novella trilogy with Donna Hill, Farrah Roshan, and K.M. Jackson, all 3 great writers. So very romance holiday trilogy, like the Men of War series. So
yeah, perfect.
go. That's on the TBR.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Tiffany, for your time. This was so much fun, and I love talking about Men at Work. For everyone who is watching right now, go out and grab Men at Work. Right now on sale is her Halloween treat and her Naughty Holiday, and coming up is One Hot December. So depending on when you're watching that, either all 3 are out or One Hot December will be out soon. But thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays. Have a great one. Thank you again, Tiffany. Bye, everyone.